Hey, it's John Carlos here once again with my dear friend.
Eddie!
That's
Whoa.
Eddie.
That's new. You should do that every time.
Yeah, lip sync while you talk. Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
It just came to me, man. We sit around, we talk horror movies, and
That's what we do.
and we're trying this thing where we talk about one movie, and it's working out pretty good.
So far, so good. I mean, there's no more 4-hour videos.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe roughly feature length. 4 hours is feature length too. So I don't know what I'm saying.
But yeah, I like that we talked about Killer Clowns longer than the Killer Clowns movie did.
Yeah, there was a lot to talk about though. There's lots of lot there. Yeah.
So we rewatched Cabin in the Woods, a movie that when it came out, shit my pants, peed my pants, jizzed all over my fucking chest and belly over. And I think you haven't seen it since it came out in theaters.
Yeah, saw it first time I think I only saw it once in the theater with my sister and maybe somebody else. And I liked it a lot. Might have seen it shortly after its DVD release following that when I think my sister owned it. And she was still, we were still sharing a living space. And I remember watching it. I think I saw it a second time. And well, I won't bury the lead. I like it a lot.
Okay. But it's been about like 8 years for you since it came out in theaters.
Yeah, and but even like this rewatch, I actually watched it twice. The first time because I think everybody who's seen this has a basic idea. It's an easy concept to kind of wrap your head around, especially in retrospect. But I wanted to re-experience it, and I didn't want to be sitting there like with my notes, just not paying attention, which I can do with movies I've seen hundreds and hundreds of times. So I sat down, sat through it once, and then I sat through it again a day or two later. And actually glad I did that because I enjoyed it more the second time than I did the first time. The first time, even though I wasn't taking notes, my brain was going off, and there were so many things I was just kind of like, oh, I don't know about that. We can dive into a few. But...
Well, I think I want to start off by talking about the experience of seeing it the first time, specifically because of the way it was marketed. I remember watching the trailer and at first being quite upset that the trailer gives away. Spoiler alert to anyone who's never seen this movie, go fucking watch this movie because we're spoiling the shit out of it. And it is a movie that is so spoilable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want it spoiled. Just watch it.
Yeah. So, having said that, the trailer shows you that they're going to a place where there are people controlling what you see, people like pulling the lever, and you see, fog happening, and they show. This is no surprise to anyone. I'm bad with names. I'll watch a movie and forget all the main characters' names. But the fool and the virgin in the elevator.
Dana and what's his name? The other guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fool.
I just remember being upset that wow, the trailer's really giving away that there's more to the cat. I mean, I'm intrigued, but then you get to see the movie, and the very opening scene is the most mundane. I mean, and it's still very Jossy, but just two people in an office setting talking about their life, and immediately that, okay, so you didn't spoil shit because the movie doesn't build up to a reveal. It doesn't have a twist in the second act or the third act. They kill the twist in the first 5 minutes of the movie. The whole point is there isn't a twist. We are telling you up front what is going on. If I want to get nitpicky, because my only nitpick about the trailer is that they showed the stoner guy and the girl,
Marty.
Yeah. In the movie, when he dies, I'm like, well, he's not dead because I saw in the trailer, he's alive later. So, fuck you, trailer. However, speaking of, just the movie in general, the movie deconstructs and upends and plays with and makes fun of and has fun with all these horror beats and cliches, and one of them being that when one of your characters, like, you don't see their death, but like it's kind of off camera and implied, they're not fucking dead, they're coming back. So like the fact that you don't ever really see him die, like it's no surprise that he survives and comes back.
Uh-huh.
So, but anyway, I just thought it was neat that for a movie that seemed like it had something up its sleeve and it was ruined by the trailer, the movie's like, no, don't worry, we've got like 10 other reveals you're fine. We're not spoiling shit.
Nice. I don't even remember that. I remember actually, I feel like I saw the trailer, but maybe I just didn't retain the information or something. I tend to, if I'm excited about a trailer, try to forget it, but because I remember watching it thinking I didn't get the logo on the poster, which is just like a cabin that's like turning like a Rubik's Cube on itself or something. And I was just kind of like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's in space. I don't know. Because it's not connected to anything. It's just, and then there's just like this vacant white space. And then when I watched the movie, and then as I walked out, I walked past the poster. I was just kind of like, oh, I see, because it's deconstructed, and it's what the poster did that I liked that the movie also does with it. I don't know whether it's a helicopter shot or it's a crane shot, but just like that overhead thing, what I tend to affectionately call the Beetlejuice shot, where you're just a bird's eye view of like a car or a road, like moving through like a vast expanse wilderness, just to make the people that you're following or even the path that you're following just seem long and big. And that cabin looked small on the poster, and it looked like it was being manipulated by some kind of unseen force. And I thought, oh, that's very clever. So I like that. I mean, I also like the fact that I can dive into the movie now, right?
Do it.
Awesome. But no, because I forgot about this, and it didn't even resonate with me until this fourth time that I saw it, the last time. Because I don't know, something about having a pen in your hand and just like watching it, it's like you're not relaxed, you're leaning forward. I didn't even realize that it opens with images that kind of give the whole thing away anyway. Mm-hmm. Just the few opening credits that you see are all these sacrifices and all of these kind of ritualistic looking, old looking, almost cave painting or scroll, kind of artwork. And I don't remember that from my first viewing. I don't remember it from my second or third viewing. So I was just kind of like, oh, that's okay. They're planting the seeds early. I mean, of course I knew this was going to be crafted together mindfully. Because I mean, even though Joss Whedon, kind of a contentious character at the time of this taping, for various reasons, as far as his artistry, like, I mean, I'm a huge Buffy fan. I'm a huge Angel fan. Also a fan of Drew Goddard. Wrote one of my favorite Buffy episodes in the final season, which was Conversations with Dead People. And I believe it was the final season of Angel, for anybody who's familiar with the show, this doesn't spoil anything if you aren't, but he wrote the episode where, no, it's not a spoiler. He wrote the episode where Wesley's father visits Wolfram Hart. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't,
one day I'll watch
anyway,
it.
But I love that episode. So I was just kind of like, oh, Drew Goddard, awesome. Because I forgot. I knew Joss either directed or wrote it or co-wrote or co-directed, and I couldn't remember what. And then I'm looking through things. I'm like, oh, this is really Drew Goddard's baby, with like some Joss petered in, obviously.
Well,
but
they hung out and wrote the script and like banged it out together, and it's very
okay.
It is very much like the two of them
mm-hmm.
that made this happen. Yeah, but it's still
cool.
like, full of Joss actors.
Oh my like, God!
It's undeniably a Joss Whedon production. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, you feel it even before. I mean, the second you see, I mean, neither Bradley Whitford or Richard Jenkins are members of the Joss stable, but just that very water cooler moment. I mean, there's literally a water cooler, I think, between them or behind them, while they're discussing, just like this business casual thing. They're just, committing these atrocities as this huge, I guess, corporate, is that the right word? Or bureaucratic? Industrial, I mean, huge company, huge office atmosphere. I mean, maybe almost military. I mean, arguably,
bureaucratic.
I guess. Yeah. Something like that. Some institution. Like they're in some kind of.
And then Amy Acker shows up, and I'm like, it's a Joss Whedon thing.
I know.
It's so comforting. I love it.
And Tom Lank is another face that shows up, and I'm just like, oh, look at you. And I think there. Oh, and Marty, because he wasn't. I don't believe he was in Angel or Buffy, but I know he did some Joss projects afterwards.
No, he was in Dollhouse before this.
Right, and afterwards he was in the Shakespeare thing. Joss, was it Much Ado About Nothing?
Yes, Much Ado.
Yeah, and he was in that. He played. I don't remember his name. Hero was the girl, and he was the guy who was mean to the girl.
Was in Much Ado.
Amy Acker,
was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and she was in this, and I mean, she's in a lot. She was in Dollhouse. She's in Dollhouse with Franz.
And Angel, where I fell in love with her, where we all did.
I mean, first of all, I mean, I'm an easy mark because it's weird. I've never seen Buffy or Angel, but like Firefly, Dr. Horrible, Dollhouse, Serenity, like they're all my shit. And then so I was an easy mark for this anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like you were saying something, so.
You know me, I'm always saying something, aren't I? Don't make a face. Stop it. Well, I mean, no, I mean, just moving through it, like I'm just going off my notes. Like, I like the fact that there's already a seed planted if they ever want to make a prequel, right there in their exchange at the beginning, discussing how it's come down to Japan and the U.S. and there hasn't been a glitch since '98, and I'm just like, what happened in '98?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's a theory about what they're talking about.
Ooh, what is it?
If we're talking about these events all being movies that we're familiar with, tropes of movies, or if you wanted to say movies in general, right? Especially based on these different monsters we have. There is talk that they're talking about The Faculty, which came out in think about it. Came out in 1998, and like if you look at that cast of Josh Hart and Elijah Wood, you have like a virgin and a someone who's smart and a jock, but they don't die. They defeat the alien. It is considered a failure, and they defeat the alien with like a drug concoction, And they talk about how well, it was the chemical department's fault or whatever. Like it is a chemical. Like that department fucked up.
Oh my God. That is mind-blowing.
It's fun to think about.
Now. Okay, respect.
It's just a fun thing. Like if you IMDb like 1998 and you look at what came out that year, you could argue that you're talking about The Faculty.
I like that theory. Where did you get that?
I think
it's just common knowledge.
No, I think I either read it online or there was like a YouTube video about it a few years ago.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because I've never heard that, and that's astonishing. It makes me want to revisit The Faculty now.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that in ages.
That's what's great about this movie. Is at least when I saw it, it made me want to revisit like everything I ever saw, seen through the prism of this. Because like, I mean, I view it. Well, I guess you could view it two ways. I view it as actually, I view it three ways. I view it as a celebration of horror and all of its tropes and cliches. I see it as kind of a middle finger / deconstruction to all the tropes and cliches, if you want to call them like with that inflection. You can also, on top of that, view it as if the beats and the traditions within the framework of what they're doing to these people is the story, and if the elders that they're trying to appease, the ancient gods, the elder ones, aren't just the ancient gods of the world before us, but are a metaphor for us, the viewer, how they are doing this to appease them, that all these things they need to see happen are to please them, are also us going, we go to the horror movie and we want to see the stoner guy,
Right.
we want to see the virgin live in the third act, and then we want to see all these beats happen, and we want to be appeased. If we don't, we're angry. And the people who are controlling it, in essence, Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon, you could argue, are Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford. Like, they are the creators, they are the storytellers making this happen for the appeasement of, they're the directors and we're the audience. You know what I mean? So it's fun to view what's happening in the Cabin in the Woods as the movie, and through that prism, I think it's already super meta just doing that.
Right.
But you can take that and just go, well, that's a fun layer. It really is.
And beyond fun, it's also this one word that kept occurring to me with this movie in particular that I don't often associate with horror. It doesn't mean I never do, but I mean, is clever. Things just kept happening. I just kept going, how clever. And I'm still astonished when I watch. I mean, even hearing that, I'm just, oh, that's clever. Like, I mean, I have so much respect for the way it's structured and the way it's executed. One thing, just off from the feature itself, because I don't own it, I don't have the Blue, I don't have a bunch of special features or anything. So I watched some YouTube videos from like Dead Meat and stuff like that, you know, breakdowns where they give you behind the scenes stuff. And I saw how many practical effects, like just technically, you know, what kind of aspirations they had writing it, not even fully realizing what it was that they were going to have to execute later. There was this huge discussion around a line in the script when Marty and Dana are in, you know, push the button and release everything. And there's one part of this whole sequence, of this whole montage, that just says chaos on every screen, something like that. And they had to create chaos on every screen. And they didn't superimpose it later. They didn't just green screen the screens and just put it in, you know, in post. Those were actual television screens with actual footage that they shot with the practical effects from this almost roulette wheel of horror, that you're not in control of, like what is going to get you ultimately if you work for the name of this company. Did they ever say the name?
No.
I couldn't. Okay, I didn't think so. So this nameless company.
They just work in service of appeasing the ancient
right
ones. Yeah.
Us. Now I know that. I'm like, oh my gosh, another feather in my cap. Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
and I didn't. Yeah, that didn't occur to me the first several times I watched it, but it clicked later, and I went, ah.
It makes me like
that
it.
It's two guys. Yeah.
Yeah. But also makes me like it even more because there's something about, now this is where I know some horror fans get lost with this movie because it's so clever, so meta, so outside of itself. Some people interpret it as merely satire and merely commentary and don't embrace the horror because it's not, I feel like they're waiting for it to go full horror. And I guess I understand it. I don't know if it's warranted, but because there is something missing for me, and ultimately, it's not even something that I think is a mistake in the case of like the filmmakers or anything like that. I don't think they did anything wrong. This is, and it happened to me both times I watched it this most recent time. It's so tight, and it moves at such a clip. Like there's no fat on this movie. Even the laughs, it's about pacing. It's about keeping the wheels going. The wheels never really stop for me. And the actors are so good, both, you know, behind the scenes in the bureau and then, you know, in the cabin, like playing it out and everything like that. I mean, even the creepy, what's his name? They gave him but they gave him a name. I don't even remember. It was like Mephistopheles or something. I don't remember.
Yeah. The Harbinger of Doom. Yeah.
Yeah, the Harbinger of Doom guy. Who, my God, was he? Okay. Sorry, too many thoughts. But my original point was, such good actors, not, I wouldn't even call it filling in the blanks, but just filling in their moments, like really developed and dimensionalized, but they're feeling realized in a spontaneous way. And even when I don't like something somebody does, I know why it's there. Yet I'm watching all these incredibly capable actors and this movie that's just got the pace going, and I find myself kind of longing for just a sliver more, because it's already there, but a sliver more of humanity between them. I find myself craving, I mean, you know me, I love the interpersonal. I love the way what happens in the space between two people, or how people could be in a room and one person walks in and the whole energy shifts. Like, I'm all about that dynamic. I'm all about that kind of chemistry and observing it. And it's not like that doesn't happen in this, but I like these people so much and what they're doing that I feel like I'd almost like to spend a little more time, I mean the people in the cabin predominantly, a little more time with them, a little more time really, like, I get that they're not really the roles that they're being pigeonholed into, but I would love, and I get that here, but I would love if I felt like I kind of knew them, you know, like a little bit better. I mean, it doesn't take much. It could be literally like moment between these two, extra moment between these two, and one more moment between Marty and somebody, you know, like something like that.
Right. I mean, it's interesting because once they get to the cabin, they've already been fueled by enough outside forces to kind of force them into roles that they aren't 100% those roles. So you wouldn't even be getting them anymore. In fact, one of the things I like was that your average, a lot of these movies, you meet them on the trip. Not all of them, but a lot of them, we start out with them on the car and them arriving at their destination. But I love the fact that we get to spend a whole scene with them for the trip.
Yeah.
And like that gives me, at least for me, it gives me what I need. But I can tell how you maybe want more. But especially fun to see that Chris Hemsworth knows enough about the books to like recommend her something extra, and then later you see him really leaning into his jockiness, and you're like, no, but you aren't totally the same dude that was recommending books to her half an hour ago. Yeah.
And one thing I do like about, again, why I think I liked it more the second time around than the first time was, 'cause the first time, even though I was giving it my full attention, it's moving at such a clip I can't pick up everything. So maybe the more I watch it, the more I'll love it. I don't know. Time will tell. But I just know after kind of having that moment reiterated for me, like re-spelled out, being able to revisit it, see him be a funny, not just a good boyfriend, but a funny boyfriend, like with the whole like, what is this stuff?
Yeah.
Who gave you this? You know, it's just like, and you, all right? I let everyone watch it, yeah! And I was like, oh my God, they're so cute. Like, I could take a trip with these people.
They have a wit about them, and it doesn't feel like so witty that like somebody wrote it. Like, people do say like that. Yeah.
Oh, and even like that first moment, like the first 3 times I saw Dana, I did not realize the sketch that she's looking at and kind of rubbing her fingers on it and everything like that. It didn't add up for me what was going on. I think I was too busy trying to pick up on something else or reading a credit, or my mind was wandering because it goes by so fast. I didn't realize, oh, she fucking had an affair with her professor. Drew enough for him to get inside her heart and for her to like draw, or at least for her to get infatuated and draw, you know, like a picture of him. And she's not quite over it yet, but it's enough for her friend. And I know I've been this friend, and I've had my friends be this friend, to my shame. Where you walk in and you're just kind of like, oh my God, no, don't. But what I love is like almost instantly, it doesn't turn into a scene. It turns into something else that's, again, I love it. I wish I got more of it with Jules when she's just like, hey, your hair. She's just like, yeah, I know, I went blonde. It looks good, right? It looks good, right? Okay, come on, I'm getting insecure right now. I need you to tell me it's good. And I'm just like, and she doesn't do it. I mean, she could do it like, I mean, and again, like I think these characters have dimension too, but I mean, she could lean into more of a, I mean, she's not, there is a world where a movie like with a character like that is going to lean more into the Final Destination 3 girls who are wearing like their fleece suits and their underwear hanging out of their, you know, and they can still be superficial, and they can have a little dimension, but the fact that she's just a person who just dyed her hair blonde and was unlucky enough to pick it up from people who were tracing her, knew to drop the particular box that she was going to purchase, or maybe they even laced it in whatever hairdresser. I mean, whatever it is, they did their research. They made sure that it was going to get into her brain, so she would start losing her. It wasn't her coherence, but there was a word that they were trying to.
Oh, yeah, I forget.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get to it. It's probably in my notes. But yeah, Amy Acker says it's something like it's supposed to, cognizance? It's supposed to lower her cognizance or something, to make her kind of more, and again, very, very clever. Very clever.
It's funny
that
you're talking about the acting, because, I mean, when I think of this movie, I think of the writing. I think of the writing and the story and everything behind it. The ideas, the themes, the intentions. But you're right. The acting is really solid. In fact, one thing that really, it struck me every time I've watched it, but I haven't actually sat down and watched this in a few years. Like, it came out in 2012, watched it in theaters, watched it a bunch of times on Blue. I think I revisited on Blue, but it has been a few years since I watched it. I forgot how note perfect Jesse Williams is when he takes down the portrait and sees that it's a two-way mirror. And it clicks that she can't see him, and then she starts to and he has that moral dilemma of but he's not a total dirtbag, but I mean, if you go back and just watch every choice, and it unfolds, it never feel like I'm watching him make the choices, but with he is. If I could give someone an Oscar for a single minute of just perfection, he plays that perfectly. And to her credit, when the tables are turned.
Oh,
so does she.
I mean, okay.
And also it's just great that the script goes, I fucking love that. He's like, do you want to switch rooms? Would it make you feel more comfortable if we switch rooms? And I'm
know.
What a fucking mensch. I like this guy.
I mean, that said, first time I watched it, I was just like, okay, you're taking a while to make up your mind. And then when he finally did it, I was like, yeah, that should have happened 5 seconds ago. But I mean,
he's not perfect.
Watching it again and knowing that the parallels coming, that immediately their roles are going to switch, and also the fact that it makes all the difference in the world. She doesn't know he's watching her. I think he disrobes knowing.
It's quite possible.
He's doing it in front of the mirror too. He's not stepping out of the way, trying not to be seen. He's showing off. And I'm here for it.
But what's great is, I know you are.
Thank you, Jesse Williams.
But you said that he took a little too long to do it. But the truth of the matter is, what's right and what's wrong. And when you're alone, you don't always make the right decision, or at least right away. There is some truth to but he plays it I need to fucking stop this.
It's kind of pendulous.
It's fucking great. It is great.
They could have animated a little devil and a little angel.
Shoulder. Absolutely.
But he made the right decision, and also everything. He pretty much does everything right. I do remember in the theater that moment of him deciding. The audience turns audible at that time. At that point, people are laughing. People are going yeah, and other people are just going oh, he's so sweet, whatever. And it's because it's everything. It's funny, it's uncomfortable, it's silly, it's familiar. It feels very rooted in human nature. Again, moments like that are worth their weight in gold to me, because even though nothing has stopped moving. There are two people who barely know each other, and we're still kind of laying the groundwork for how these two strangers are going to interact with each other. That's done incredibly well. I think it's not a criticism, but I think it runs at doesn't it run less than 90 minutes? The movie?
I thought it was, but it's around 90 minutes.
Around 90 minutes. I could have gone for another 5 to 10, even 15, but maybe just 10.
Within that runtime
interaction with those characters,
had it been a normal straight horror movie, I could see. But however, the fact that there was a whole second half to this with a whole other set of characters operating, and that there's more to it than just quite literally the surface level plot, the surface of the earth level plot that we have to have time to have. But isn't it neat that the underground characters get so much development too. And
Mm-hmm.
I will take everything we get with Amy Acker and Bradley Whitford at the expense of less scenes of like Jesse Williams and what's her nuts bonding or whatever, because there is more on the movie's mind than that.
And see, because there's enough parallels to the genre, this is amazing because us as the gods that they're trying to appease, uh, even though I am appeased by this movie, I do find myself, I remember this only got worse as I got through the movies. I got kind of disappointed. I understand it and I respect it, but I got kind of disappointed that Dana isn't really a final girl. She's not. I mean, she doesn't. I feel like the true final girl in this movie is Marty. Seriously. I mean, because he starts off. He's also my favorite kind of final, fighter, shall we say? I'll just call him a final girl. Who cares? But he's my favorite type of character like that because he starts off in a kind of like a readily identifiable, accessible, like, oh, if I knew you, I would like you kind of way. And then as the movie progresses, is tested and is the one who nobody believes and the one who even doubts himself, even though it's because he's stoned and not because like, oh, I'm, maybe everybody's right. I'm just, a girl in a suburb and, what do I know? But because he sees the truth, I feel almost the whole time. And when he doesn't, when he mishears and says Pop-Tarts, I'm just like, oh, yell stoner. I mean, stoners have my heart. What can I say? And he plays it so well.
No, yeah, he is. And talk about a cliche, and then bringing something new, but still funny, and also relatable, and also likable, but still being that guy, but being more than that guy, but still fulfilling that guy. It's great.
Yeah, and also entertaining at the same time. Like, oh my God, like I laugh so much at like when he's just in the room. And I think when he discovers the mic, or not the mic, the camera.
I think I'm such a burnout.
Which I didn't even need that second line. Like, just like, I'm on a reality show is enough. And I just, oh, my mom's gonna do the I'm like, oh, it brings me right back to caring about him. Franz
something.
Kranz, I think is how you pronounce it. That's his name. That's another thing I appreciated. Lots of beautiful men in this movie. Like we got our Franz Kranz, we got our Jesse Williams, we got our Brian White, even though he plays a big old like limp dick.
Who?
Because he's the one who Amy Acker keeps educating on like, like how they're doing everything. And he keeps like, it's like his first day and they keep telling him everything.
Oh, like the new security guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And he looks incredibly disapproving the entire movie, but does absolutely nothing to stop it. So when he dies, I'm just kind of like, yeah. I mean, you didn't do shit, man. You just stood there and looked down your nose at people, and that doesn't do anything. Oh,
you're talking about beautiful men, and you didn't even mention Chris Hemsworth.
I was getting to him. Also because I prefer him tanner and older, but like I love my Thor eras. Chris Hemsworth, and I'm probably just going to continue to love him more and more as the years go on. But no, I think because I saw this before I saw Thor. I remember that because I didn't see Thor in the theater, and I remember. I think I knew he was Thor. I don't even remember, but I just remember he didn't even leave that much of an impression on me. I was just like, oh, he's a better actor than I expected. I mean, because he just shows up. He's just kind of like, hey, I'm tossing the ball and I'm joking with my girlfriend. I'm like, oh, he's charming. But then like when we get to the motorcycle and even his, you would love this. I mean, just like when after Jules gets killed and he's in the cabin and he's like warning them all and everything like that. He is really warning them. Like he is. He's not phoning it in. He's not playing meta. He's not playing something. Every one of these actors is like inside of the experience, and I love that.
I'd like to keep talking about character, but I will just say, as a brief tangent, I love the fact you mentioned he's not playing meta, because even though the idea behind the movie is meta, and the subtext of what Bradley Whitford's whole side of the story is meta, one of the reasons why so many of the jokes, so much of this works so well is because everyone's playing it straight. They're not playing it like they're in on the fucking meta joke.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons, probably one of the key reasons why I think this movie succeeds so well at what it does. But yes, he is doing really well in that scene. And it's so funny because when they filmed this, Thor wasn't a thing. This was
Yeah,
filmed.
because they filmed it in 2009.
Yeah, and then MGM had that horrible like, what the fuck's gonna happen to MGM? And
What did they have?
what the fuck is gonna happen to MGM? It was, but
Go on.
Sorry. Home video rights, I think eventually ended up being sold to like Fox, and now Fox distributes MGM stuff, or maybe that was before. But there was a period where like, where are we going? We don't afford ourselves now. So like that, I think one of the Bond movies was put on hold. The Hobbit movies were put on hold for a few years, and then everything that they had shot, like this and the Red Dawn remake, were like completed, and then they just fucking sat on the shelves for like 2 years until like MGM found a new home and found new financing. And the fun perk was, hey, when we made this movie, we didn't have like a star. And now we got a fucking star. We have a Marvel guy in this. Holy shit.
Like name over the marquee type thing. Yeah.
So how fortunate. And it's fortunate that he still can deliver. In fact, it's fun. It's unrelated, but just like his death is one of the only deaths that isn't particularly juicy in a horror way or gory, but what it lacks in blood, or it makes up for in just, to me, like a sheer comedic beat. It's just like, it's almost me, like, I'm gonna save the day. You're gonna fucking save the day. Like, yeah, you're gonna jump that gorge. You're gonna get us out here. You're gonna fuck, and just tumble. Like, and just, they're so upset after.
Yeah.
But it's such a, it's the only real like wah, wah.
But I'm like, there's another part of me that feels like, but that's the way you do that wah, wah, because you need utter commitment to that. I think about like all those moments in the Final Destination movies we were discussing where people are telegraphing, I'm about to get killed. I'm about to get it. I'm about to get it. I'm going to say the line, and fuck you too. Whatever. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind seeing it come, because even I think there might even be a small swell of music underneath him as he's like pledging all the things he's going to do and all the people he's going to bring with guns and with this and that. And it is silly, but he's so not playing it silly. He's so committed. He's going to save the day and be an action star. And so when he hits it, I still feel bad though, because he would have made it, I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it would have made it, and because I even felt bad for the CGI hawk when it bit the dust. Going first time I'm revisiting this, I'm just sitting there watching it, and I'm just like, why the CG hawk? Just atmosphere? Oh, that's why.
Well, yeah. Well, and I think it's in that same scene where like they find out the tunnel hasn't collapsed yet, and then we later find out like Franz has fucked with the wiring and rerouted some power and blah blah blah. And you mentioned how he feels more like the final girl. I can't help but wonder if the story, she's the final girl, but if we're deconstructing horror cliches, that is part of the deconstruction. Because it's already fucking with the idea of the burnout stoner.
Yeah,
like, I love the irony of like, no, this is the one who fucking, that's the joke, is like, this fucking guy understood and knew the whole time. Or we should have been listening to him the whole time. So, I mean, that's already a fun joke. But to then carry it through like, no, he's the one who actually takes such a proactive choice with the elevator, the ramp, and the power.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I understand it as a cinematic, I mean, this is the thing. As a cinematic experience, maybe I'm just conditioned. And maybe I really, really like my final girls going up against my big bad. And I love watching the pushback and the and the tug of war that goes on and everything like that. And like, okay, how much do you know about each other, and how are you going to maneuver around this person? How are you going, how are you going to use what you know to get what you need? And so as an experience, like I watched Dana, and I am a bit disappointed. That said, I understand why they did it, because she's not a final girl. The only reason she's a final girl or a virgin is because she has been assigned that role. She's being put into a place that she has no business being and no interest being.
Even though she's technically not even a virgin. Like,
yeah.
But they work with what they can get,
Absolutely, yeah, I know, yeah. But I mean, because like none of them are. That's one thing that I like about, even though it's one of those, that's one of the only things that I feel like just conceptually you have to just kind of buy into, the fact that they can just kind of like blow a pheromone into the room and immediately change somebody's mind and know that the mind will be changed to specifically suit like whatever it is that you need. Like, I mean, that seems, I don't know how scientific that is, but
don't think about it too much.
No, I don't. But it's the only thing where I'm just kind of like, okay, we have to get the plot going and everything like that. But it's also entertaining because, I mean, I think about like, you know, when Chris Hemsworth's character, whose name I can't remember right now. I can have it written down here somewhere. Is it Holden? No, Holden's Jesse Williams.
He is Kurt.
Kurt, thank you, with a C.
Yeah.
I remember like when Kurt like first comes in after Jules' head rolls in and everything, and they're all freaking out. And he walks into the hallway after he's decided, you know, he's kind of got himself back, and you look at him and you're like, oh, it's Chris Hemsworth, he's back. Like, we all know him now, you know, or we feel like we do. Like, I feel like I can look into his eyes and be like, oh, there you are, you know, and he's just like, okay, the most important thing is that, you know, we stick together. We, you know, we're not gonna, you know, let this thing split us up. And then he starts to walk in. You know what? On second thought, I think we should split up. And then you see Holden, Jesse Williams, do a little, yeah, you know what? He's right. And in the background, out of the trail of the vapor or whatever it is, you just see oh God, names. You just see Marty.
Yeah.
You just see Marty going, really? Or whatever he says. And so I mean, it pays off in a different way. Like, I'm not sitting going like, no, that seems scientifically sound, but I am going like, oh, but it's getting us from A to B, and that was fucking funny. Okay.
It was. Well, and to me, all of that kind of shit is one of the things of why I jizzed on my stomach, loved this movie. Was, you know, because your enjoyment, it counts on you knowing horror movies, the good and the bad, but all these, first of all, I mean, if you start watching horror movies and you start getting to slasher movies through the 70s, tropes, you know, they start out as something, they become tropes, and as time rolls on and as you start doing more and more Friday the 13th sequels and sub B movie, the Mutilators and all, you're sort of it's banking on you being sick of these cliches and enjoying seeing it skewered, or, you know, you can also be of two minds, or like you could also like, oh, but I fucking love these. Like, you want this sort of thing to happen. But either way, it is a love letter. It is also a hate letter at the same time. But
I never saw it that way. But I think there's something to that argument. I don't know.
I think if you're sick of the tropes, then this movie is a nice,
probably.
Like, yeah, let's deconstruct this shit. That's always bugged me too. But the choices of splitting up, or one little one that I appreciated was, I always hate like when someone finds the knife or the gun and stabs the person and then drops the knife or gun and keeps running away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why don't you take the fucking knife with you? That sort of thing. And I love that she stabs, what is Buckner, the Buckner clan. But
sure.
They push a little button and a little spark goes off and she drops the knife. But like, they trigger that.
Yeah.
Like, all the cliches are triggered. These are the beats that the old gods need to see happen. These are the cliches that we've endured, and again, I'll just say, like, it helps if you love them. It also helps if you hate them. But
sure.
And then also, I mean, in that same way, where do you like movies where there's like a dumb jock and there's like a bimbo and they go outside to fuck in the middle of the night when you know there's someone on the loose? Or,
it depends on the movie. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It depends on the movie. Or do you hate that sort of thing? Or also, do you revel in these sort of cliches? Do you love seeing the random nobody that's...
I thought about that actually at another point, about like the fetishization of this particular subgenre, which feels closest to, I mean, it's called Cabin in the Woods, but I mean, what's interesting is you see once the establishing shot of the cabin, I don't know who could see Evil Dead, and even just with the vaguest idea of what that cabin looks like, and not see this establishing shot of this cabin and go like Evil Dead. I mean,
Right.
with shy of the porch swing, and I think the windows are a little different, but shy of that, like, I mean, it's evocative hugely. Like, it's unquestionable. You're just kind of like, oh, I saw what you did there. But then when they're all swimming together, I think of Friday the 13th, the OG one, when they're all just like swimming carelessly together and
Or
fooling
just as a
around.
gang, I think of Friday the 13th. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a harbinger and they're on the road. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, like Texas Chainsaw. Although, that was one
Mhm.
thing I wanted to talk about, like this harbinger, whose name is Mordecai. I have it in my notes. Um, I, I because I love. I mean, the OG Texas Chainsaw I adore. One of the things I adore about that is, I guess, in retrospect, what's happened subsequently is I guess the subtlety of it, because I think about when they stop at that gas station, and something's kind of off. Like, you're not really, you don't want to stick around because you've got the cook there just kind of like telling you don't want to hang out around those parts. No, just stay on the road or whatever, and then there's one guy who I don't know if that's his face or if they did some kind of prosthetic for him. Maybe it looks like it's his face, though. He looks like he's got some kind of, something going on that's not quite typical on his face. And he's just wearing overalls and like washing their windows. And he's not even mentioned. Like, that's his only scene in the whole movie. And there's a strangeness to it, an other, to it, especially if you live in an urban dwelling or even suburban. But not necessarily malice. And then I think about this guy, Mordecai. Holy shit. I mean, so aggressive, so unnecessary. Not even, I don't know what cause there is for aggression, but I mean, certainly not anything that these kids did, just kind of asking for direction. It was like, oh my God. And the fact that they all kind of leave intact, I'm like, this is, again, like, I already care about these characters, and the fact that they get away and nobody gets hurt and nobody has to like cross any kind of line with Mordecai, I find myself going, oh, okay, like, thank God. But I was wondering, like, it, how, what is this evocative of? Like, he is the harbinger, but my God, like, he really, like, no subtlety. Like, he's really just driving it home. Like, I don't like you. I don't like that you're here. I'm going to call you a whore. And I'm going to, and I'm going to call you a faggot. And, oh, geez. I don't know. I was reeling during that scene. I still haven't quite wrapped my head around it. I mean, I understand broadly, kind of like, he's a harbinger. He's there. He's a connection. We get to make fun of him later, so he doesn't kind of like exit the movie with his dignity because he wants to be taken off speakerphone. Got it. But I still, that it's an uncomfortable scene for me to sit through.
Interesting.
I don't like it.
I am very sorry to hear that. I just figured as time has gone on,
yeah,
and things like the Harbinger performing in the 70s versus now, I feel just like they have to ratchet it up a bit,
Maybe. Another thing that got punched up for me, though, was, I mean, when they're playing music, the second time we visit them, when they're kind of feeling the ecstasy of whatever it is that they're on, and poor Jules is dancing by the fireplace.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, I mean, okay, if this is, I thought satire while I was watching it, but I was like, but you're also using a trope.
Uh-huh.
I mean, one could argue you're satirizing it, but you're also benefiting from it because somebody somewhere in a movie theater is seeing that scene going, yeah,
Yeah. Well, and so is Chris Hemsworth in that scene.
Yeah. Oh God. And I think that's the thing, again, the human part of it for me that makes me sad is that I'm losing the people that I liked in the beginning. But the filmmaker's eye of mine is, I can see what they're doing, and I'm glad that they're doing it, because that's not who they are. They aren't these kind of like single-minded kind of shitty people. I mean, I
Mhm.
really don't like the turn Kurt takes in particular when they're playing Truth or Dare, and he's just like truth, and to Dana, and she just
Mhm.
looks over. She's like, "Excuse me," and he's just like, "I was just, like cutting to the chase for you," or whatever the line is. Like, just because I know you're gonna say Dare, and then we're gonna give you something to do, and then you're gonna chicken out, and you're gonna ask for us to give you truth. So, and she takes the bait, and I'm just like, okay, you're not my final girl. You're not.
See, this is
And-
why I like talking with you in general. Because if we're gonna, I mean, over the tenure of our friendship, it's
yeah,
become very obvious to me that when the two of us separately or together watch a movie,
yeah,
you respond and resonate and analyze character,
I
and
do.
I tend to respond and resonate to and analyze story.
Right.
And you bring up things that I tend to not really think about.
Mm.
And that scene happened, but I never really thought about. I mean, I remember being like kind of irked from her point of view, like shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But I never see it so much as a turn. But yeah, I think but prior to them being gassed, I don't think he ever would have said that. I'll have to wonder how much of that's the beer too, because he is drinking. And
No, but
he
he
does,
is.
and he does play that drunken guy who's like, "Yeah, baby, dancing," bleh, like he's excited.
But I have to wonder how much of it. I mean, like if he's drinking, how do we know they haven't laced his beer with something? There could be
Right.
pheromones all over the place. Because also the fact I love the thing that makes it bearable. Because especially this first time, the first return viewing coming back this time, it really bothered me because I didn't know who I was watching. But the fact that almost immediately following that, like he makes his exit with Jules to go, have sex in a quarry uh, or whatever, like in a meadow. And there's Marty recognizing that something isn't right here. He talks about like how
Yeah.
he's got like a full scholarship, and he's calling his best friend an egghead, like that's an insult. And he's a decent guy, and she's just like, and this is again where I'm like, Dana, you're no final girl, because she's going on saying like, well, they're both drunk. And he's just like, I've seen them both drunk.
Mhm.
Something else is happening right now. And she's like, are you sure it's not something else? Like, like she basically does
Yeah.
this, and he's just like, and I think that's one of the moments where like he hears Pop Tarts.
You're right.
And I see her kind of pat him on the head and walk away. And there's a part of me that understands it, and I like it for the story. But as a person experiencing the characters and everything like that, I'm like, you're not a final girl. Like, what is there? And it made me wonder because they never really explained. Like, we see Holden pull out his little glasses when they're in the basement, and he's
Mhm.
the scholar,
Mhm.
and we just talked about like what goes on with Kurt and with Jules. And then it's revealed late in the movie that like he's that Marty's been smoking something that's supposed to be like making him damn near incomprehensible, but the problem is he's a stoner and he's got his immunity built up.
Mhm.
So remember that, America,
Right, right.
or anywhere where you're watching this.
Especially if
But
it's in a state where it's legal. So.
exactly, but they never really mention doing anything, and it doesn't mean they don't do it, but they never really mention doing anything to Dana. And I scribbled somewhere in here like, what did they do to make her judgmental and almost snobby? Like, I don't.
Right. Is that necessarily a flaw in her character, or have they done something to her and the movie just didn't show it because they're like, fuck, we don't have to show us doing like we've shown you that we can do stuff. That's
Yeah,
enough to let you understand without showing every single thing they did to every single character.
sure,
But yeah, it could
but
very well just be a little lazy part in the writing for all we know.
it could. But I do appreciate in a way. This is where I feel like the Jules sexualizing of Jules thing kind of takes a turn for me when she makes out with the wolf head, because it's weird, and even they're watching it like it's weird. Nobody's really into it when
No,
it's happening, not
but
even her
thankfully
boyfriend.
it feels like it's played for laughs, and I can't help but wonder if at some point, maybe not in college, but at some point in high school, if she ever, not saying she'd be like a theater major, but it really comes off as someone who's had some sort of background in entertainment, because she really makes a fun show of it in the way that
Yeah,
someone who
yeah,
took like one improv class. She
yeah.
talks to the wolf and just what?
It's And that's a total theater
You
kid
know.
thing to do
Yeah.
too. Yeah, absolutely. Like,
Everyone's funny in
all
this
across
in a
all
way
boards,
that's they're funny, but they are real life funny and not necessarily movie funny. It still reads,
yeah.
yeah, it still reads on camera, but like I buy it. I buy it all.
Well, and it makes me laugh the
But yeah,
more I see it.
the wolf thing's not
Yeah.
foxy.
No, but it
Well,
makes
first
me
of all,
laugh the more I see it because it reminds me of Kristen Wiig's character. I think it's Shayna. Do you remember her? She was this like buxom redhead who'd just like go to parties and things,
yes,
and there'd be like a row of guys watching her. Usually, it's like Andy Samberg
and she would just do the
and Kenan
grossest,
Thompson,
weirdest
and
shit.
she'd be like, "Oh, I love, like, oh, I should just pat my body with this tissue. Do you want to watch?" And they'll just be like, yeah, and they're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Just do something so unsexy, and they're just like pan to the three guys on the wall just going,
Yeah.
faces like recoiling from what
Well,
she's doing, and she does it like 5 or 6 times.
First of all, making out with a dead wolf's head isn't sexy to begin with.
No.
Also, you're gonna have to like brush your teeth, and I remember thinking like, "Ew, Chris Hemsworth is gonna kiss that later." But to me, I don't think it was ever meant to be sexy because the wolf looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the first time I saw that, like when you're unreasonably like better than to be scared or something. But I remember thinking like, at any moment is that thing going to come to life? At any moment is that thing going to move? Obviously, it's not. But still,
Right.
I'm not. Yeah, I don't think it was ever meant to enjoy it.
No.
She already had her sexy performance, but it's actually funny. I'm glad you mentioned that earlier. And I'm going to have to talk about this, but it's not a real point, but just a thought. There's a lot of things in this that are all beats and things that are pulled from the movies. Like they're in an RV. It's very Hills Have Eyes, and they feel like a very Friday the 13th gang by the lake and they're in an Evil Dead cabin. It's not remotely the same intention when she's dancing by the fire. But the way she's moving, I couldn't help but wondering if this is supposed to be a Wicker Man reference. Even though when Britt Eklund is dancing Wicker Man, it's for a completely different reason, and the vibe is completely different. Something about the fact that she's like shaking her hips so much against the surface, I just couldn't help but think of Britt Eklund against the wall. Well, if we're gonna, Britt Eklund's double against the wall, but still. Right. I don't know, it just popped in there, and I couldn't help but wonder if that was meant to be a subtle reference, especially the fact that they made her blonde. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I feel like they're all over this movie. I mean, of course, obviously.
Yeah,
but,
and not just all the trinkets in the the basement, or what we see the trinkets eventually lead to with all the creatures. I mean,
sure,
but I mean, it goes without saying that if you're a horror fan, it is just a fun, fucking like Where's Waldo of like, especially of they don't have the rights to these characters, but just the archetypes of like, oh yeah, like a lament configuration, like the box from Hellraiser. Well, that's fun.
Yeah,
like this, like that, and then getting to see all those creatures, and a good job of evoking, like, I don't know I forget what they call him in this, but like the Hellraiser type, the saw blades in black, he's bald.
Yeah.
They do.
I don't know what they call him in this movie. I just always go to like priest because that's what Clive Barker calls his.
The Hell Priest.
In head. Yeah.
But yeah, between Creepy Clown and Home Invaders in Masks, and even just like there's just like a guy. He's just like a random, like, I think he's very like American Psycho, but there's just like a guy, and you can tell he's just like a serial killer guy. Like, I would love. Yeah. I mean, the mind reels at just like what other things they could have picked, not just like all the fucking merman, but like how rote would it have been if they picked the thing where just like the guy in the business suit shows up with like a knife, Well,
because also, I mean, it seemed prescient in some ways. Like one thing I saw on this movie's kill count video was there were some figures in red in the background who looked like the Tethered from Us, but Us
Oh.
wasn't going to be out for years and years and years. But obviously, like just like a team of people in red was evocative to somebody. Maybe they were from a whole other movie that just isn't. Maybe that was like a niche wink to like an audience that is more seasoned than you or I.
I
But
remember there a few years ago I saw a video that like broke down everything in every case. And there's a few things that are from like horror video games that I don't play.
right.
And I can't help
Okay.
but wonder if, but horror video games that have left enough of a like a mark that you would undeniably go, oh yeah, that's a major benchmark in horror. I just haven't played it,
Sure.
but yeah.
Another thing that makes the what you commented on, not just the us that we're the gods as the audience, but that the fact that because we are outside of it, we can identify with the folks, with all the screens, like watching everything that's going on. Because I had the exact same response when they finally got to choose their defeater or whatever with the zombie redneck torture family. And there were a bunch of people going, oh, and I was kind of with them because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, all the things in the basement, you got rednecks,
I'm right
zombie
there with you.
torture. like,
Although the one cool thing is I do think as far as, this Mike Myers has a steak knife and Leatherface has a chainsaw. Everyone has their thing. I do like the idea of the bear trap being thrown at people.
Oh God, it's evocative too.
It's pretty cool. But yes,
it works.
yes, the Buckner family isn't as exciting as a bunch of the others. But
No.
I was also fine with it because I almost don't need that to be too, like, it's this cast and it's the underground cast. This is just the thing, and all I need to be is the thing.
Yeah. But for some reason, I had forgotten, like I'd certainly forgotten their origin story, the Buckners, I mean. And I'd even forgotten that they were all that they fought for the longest time. Because for some reason, in my memory, maybe it was because I remembered Marty hearing the voices telling him to do shit. For some reason, I thought they had to just kind of start throwing the kitchen sink at them, as it were, and just kind of like opening other doors, rather than like the big unleashing of all of them at once, about 2/3 into the movie. It probably even more though, because that's another thing about this movie. I think they just arrived at the cabin, and I was just interested in how much more time I had. Like I was involved in it, but I was just like, how much more time do I have? And they had just arrived at the cabin, or they were just on their way to the cabin. Maybe it was the drone shot. And we were like 35 minutes into this like 90-minute movie. I thought, oh my God, like there's only an hour left. Like what? Less, like with credits and shit like that. Like what? Okay, wow. Again, like the clip, it really moves. No fat on this movie. But I do like the bear trap. I even like the again, something that it's enough of a nod to the genre when they pull out the saw and just kind of like bring it before the eyes of Jules before they saw her head off as a family. Not looking forward to that. I'm always uneasy around rusty metal anything. Like even back in the day when we used to go chop down our own Christmas trees when I was a kid, those saws that they'd give you, my dad would be holding one. I'd just be like watching it. I'd be on like my mother, my sister in between, he and I'd just be like watching his arm, making sure he's not swinging it. And he didn't. He's a grown up. He knows how to handle a saw. But I was always uber careful, just so. Yeah, the prospect of just like having to behold the thing that's going to dismember you, I don't like it. But I like how evocative it is.
It's funny because I view this movie through such a writer director, very aware of it being a movie prism, that I don't really feel much. I mean, let me say, I don't feel much from what's happening to the surface level characters based on what they're experiencing. If anything,
right.
I feel bad that they're being manipulated, and I actually feel more for the stoner, but I'm fascinated by the intentions of everyone underground. And the fact that this is so has become such a normalized thing for them that they bet on who what monsters can get picked.
Uh-huh.
And that for the prerequisite sex scene of a horror movie, that it's a bunch of dudes standing there watching the screen until they're like, all right, guys, fucking let's go. And,
Right.
and the fact
when the nudity happens, there's absolutely no gratification on the faces of the two men who are making it all go on. They're just kind of, okay.
If anything,
good.
And there's a slight, I don't want to say it's somber, not somber in a sad way, but I mean, it's, yep, here it is. This is the thing that we do because she's going to die and we need to do the thing. Like, it's cool. Like, and it's played perfectly, but yeah, they've seen it enough times and they know what's behind it. And I like that even like they really understand this part of the job, whereas all the goobs that showed up to watch, like this, they're the smaller cog in the machine. Please get the fuck out. This is actually not that fucking cool right now.
That said, I like that there's not enough humanity in them for us to kind of make a case to defend their actions, because Bradley Whitford has that unforgettable moment where he's sitting there watching Dana fight. I think it's on the dock. I can't remember, but he's just like, it's weird. I think I'm almost rooting for this girl. It's like she's somehow got the strength and the tequila is my lady.
Well, I always got the impression that we were watching a true sense of humanity and he had to perform because he can't let people know how much he's actually feeling in the moment.
I didn't feel that at all.
Versus he's really the tequila guy. I always felt that he's performing a bit. But I mean, I'm not defending their actions at all, but I feel like if you're going to have this kind of job, I don't know how you get through it without a sense of detachment. Otherwise, you can't make your way through it. But it obviously lends, what they're doing sucks.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
because then that brings me to what happens at the end. Just okay. more. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm complaining about Dana, because I feel like that's only half true. I think the slasher fan in me, in particular, is disappointed experientially as I move through it. But because I love my final girls. I want a final girl, and she keeps like not being it. Like that. Like she disappoints me. It's interesting because she disappoints me in ways that, you know, some final girls, you know, some like who have been around longer and who were written by men, so they were made to do stupid things maybe here and there. I feel like there's one thing, like when they get off the elevator and the zombie hand tackles the first security guard who's got them, and then he ends up, what do they like, beat him up, and he like falls there and the zombie hand takes over. So then they're out there and then they start to hear Sigourney Weaver's voice. Exactly. They start to hear Sigourney Weaver's voice. And all I can think, because at that point, Marty is holding both the knife or the chisel or whatever the fuck it is, the tool, and the gun. And he's walking around with both of them. And Jules is fine with that. No, but at first, like, because I'm thinking immediately, as soon as that happens, you're going to proceed. And I'm like, in an ideal world for me, again, experientially, like as like the little, you know, theater goer, little movie goer.
You want her to have the gun?
I want him to just go, which one do you want? And for her to decide which one she's going to feel safer with, and for him to be cool, and for them to go move through together. And because I don't get that, again, it's not a horror movie. It's reality. You know, it's people. It's just people. So again, they take care of me seconds later. Same thing with like the weird, what I called it originally when I saw it, the palindrome scene with the mirror, because it starts with Jesse Williams seeing the portrait going, ugh, and taking it down, seeing the mirror, seeing her change, going, whoa, boop, boop. And then the palindrome starts because she starts to see him undress, and she puts it back and then recoils at the portrait. And I was like, oh my God, it's a palindrome sequence. Nice. Like this. But and if you don't get that, look up palindrome, kids.
It's Taco Cat.
Taco Cat. Race car.
Yeah.
If you don't get it after all that, I don't know what to tell you. The system has failed you. Google it. Swipe right. Well, now I'm completely derailed. What was I talking about?
Yeah, you're talking about the ending.
Yes. So, but I like, again, he's doing what he's been directed to do. I mean, Franz is, because he immediately, like, when he's listening and everything, he's like, and I even love the way he hands it to her. Like, he's got this fighter spirit about him that I didn't see before, even though, we've seen traces for it. I know he's got him, but he's just like, nothing's gonna get us here. You want this? Take it. Like, no words, wordlessly, and it's determined, and it's a visual medium, and I'm just getting so much from it. I just the little moviegoer, the little horror fan in me is like, I really would have liked to have seen her have the presence of mind, or see him have the presence of mind as soon as they move from beyond the little cop gun and all like that. What do you want? Because that's what I would do if I were in that situation. I were with anybody, I'd be like, okay, I have 2 weapons. That's not fair. Which one do you want? And I'll take care. We'll take care of each other. We'll stand back to back. We'll do whatever we got to do. But and then later, when she gets told to kill him, and we don't know what it means yet, but then they meet Sigourney Weaver, and everybody in the movie theater goes, "What the fuck?" Or, oh, like, we're all like, "Oh, it's our goddess." But they start talking about, like, the offering and everything, and I'm right there with Marty, because he's my final girl, because he's just like, by killing people, oh, you're providing a service, good for you. Maybe, like, maybe we shouldn't be living right now. Maybe, like, maybe it isn't worth all this. Maybe you're doing something horribly, horribly wrong, and you're just telling yourself you're not, so you can live with, like, whatever he says. Like, I get all of that from him. And then we see in the background, as she's, like, been listening, and she's moving to a gray area, we see the gun lifted up in the back of the frame, and I'm like, I'm so disappointed in you, Dana.
She apologizes for it later.
I know she does,
and he seems cool.
I know, and I love that, but we'll get there. But no, I just sit there and I'm just like, and it happened both times. Again, I see what they're doing; it's brilliant. But my little moviegoer is sitting there going,
oh, sure.
I don't like you, Dana.
Even though we're talking about the end of the world.
This is the thing.
Like,
what I don't like about it is, I feel like, again, a final girl or a final guy would have the presence of mind to know, you killed my friends. You sacrificed us for things that were not even, you've probably been doing this for eons, but you're doing it to save a civilization. Are you really saving civilization, or are you saving your ass? Like, I had to watch my friends brutally murdered. What if you lose somebody who care? Have you lost somebody who you care? I mean, all of this, like, hypocrisy occurs to me, and I feel like it occurs to Marty. And here it's like watching Dana kind of go over to the other side. It's almost like she understands their reasoning for what they do, rather than going, well, maybe it's not up to you. Maybe it shouldn't be up to you. Maybe that's not your decision to make. Which I could, I can get behind that kind of an argument. But she's not a final girl. She's just a person. And so I like it. But as I'm sitting there watching it, I'm going, I don't like you, because Marty's done it. And now he's looking, and he even looks at her like, wow, like, God damn it. And she makes her case.
Mm-hmm.
I understand how somebody could feel that way. And I really like, because I'm Team Marty in this movie. Not that I like everybody. I'm Team Marty. Come on. I'm going to make a t-shirt, Team Marty. But when the werewolf starts to come up behind her, after she says, I'm sorry, and he just goes, so am I, or me too, or whatever he says.
Yep.
And I'm just like, yeah, because you're going to let a werewolf bite the shit out of her, probably kill her.
Yep.
And then he has the fight with Sigourney, and Sigourney can take a punch, and we're watching them roll around, and there's all this weird, and then they are on the same team, because something in her realizes, even though he let her get sick with a werewolf, now because I think she literally sees Marty versus the director, Sigourney, I think she realizes where her allegiance lies. I feel like I use the word allegiance a lot in these
Mm.
talks that we have, but I feel like that's where she realizes where her allegiance lies, ends up sacrificing, or does she sacrifice her? I think she tries. Doesn't she try? I don't even remember the exact sequence now. Because she's there, she's trying to warn him. That's what it is. She's like, or whatever. And the girl with the axe comes in and lets her have it. There we go. But at the end, that's what I love. And that's the thing that actually satisfies me, that doesn't make me leave the theater pissed off, is the fact that they sit next to each other and they make their amends.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I almost shot you. I don't think I really would have done it. I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever, Karen.
Yeah. Let's light up and watch the world end. Like,
yeah. And he apologizes too. Like, I'm sorry I let you get. I'm sorry I let you get attacked by a werewolf and then ended the world.
Delivered perfectly.
And then they light up and they sit there smoking and everything. I saw a meme that made me think about this, which was great. It was a photo of Veronica Sawyer at the end of Heathers, their hair all blown up and her cigarette lit, and a photo of I can't remember her name right now, but the main girl, the final girl in Ready or Not at the very end, like smoking her cigarette, and it was like an either or, like, which one's your favorite? And somebody said Marty and Dana from Cabin in the Woods, and I was like, oh my god, totally. Like, I mean, I love my Veronica Sawyer too, but I mean, as far as horror is concerned, I have to give it to my Marty and my god, because also the fact that, like, here we had this like problem of epic proportions, and now it's become distilled to what I think everything should be distilled to, which is person to person, which is just the two of them just kind of realizing, you know what, I fucked up. Well, I fucked up too. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's just smoke out and just, it would have been cool to see those giants. Yeah, that would have been a great week. I mean, it's so enchanting. It's so but like, we get those characters that we met in the beginning kind of back, because they like each other.
And it's a bold beat to end the movie on. I love when movies really go for the logical, grim ending.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it felt right, despite all the bad things that come from it. For the kind of story they're telling within this framework, it's like the kind of thing you wouldn't expect someone, you would chicken out at some point, but like and then if you had that other ending, wouldn't it be cool if they just fucking they do it. It's great.
Yeah.
In fact, not only is the ending great, but I remember when I saw this, I was like, that's one of the best third acts I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And it's been 8 years, and I still would say that's one of the best third acts I've seen. It's in the last 8 years since something. I mean, act one. I mean, you want to talk about a third act that delivers, not just on premise, but just the sheer fucking glee I feel when I hear the ding of the elevator. And you see the lobby, and then round two, and just the sheer fucking chaos, and just this institution and how it deserves this. And to see them literally reaping like what they sow with all these, but then to still give us the humor of fucking unicorn just gutting
I was going to ask you about that. Like, what the? I was like, okay, never in my life have I heard of somebody having this fear. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but who are you?
I chalk up to three random things. One, just fictional fantasy creature. There's other things that are in there that are fantastical creatures, so I chalk up to that. Two, they've been doing this for a long time. A lot of these things have existed from the old world, and they've been contained. I have to imagine we're not scared by it, but at one point, people
like Puritans or something. They would be freaked out because it's not a creature of God or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
And three, I see that, and I still think of legend. And there's a mood to legend that even with unicorns, like that movie never felt like a safe, happy, warm place for me. That whole world just felt like there was something wrong with all of it. At least when I was a kid. I watched it somewhat recently, and I'm like, oh, this is good. But like when I was a child, that movie felt threatening. Everything, the atmosphere, the music, just I didn't feel comfort watching Legend.
I felt an odd. I mean, I was a closeted little boy, so who knows? But it was an odd, seductive awakening for me, like because I heard it with the we're Americans, so we heard it with the original not the original, with the Tangerine Dream score.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear Jerry Goldsmith until like I was well into my 20s.
Same.
But and I like them both, actually. I can watch either version and feel completely satisfied. Yeah. But I remember hearing just that all that stuff. And it just sounded so sexy to me. I didn't even know what it meant, but it just made me think about being entwined, being like a teenager, because teenagers were adults, being a teenager and being in love, but again, interesting that you bring up that word, like a dangerous kind of love. And I don't even mean the world, like, getting, in shadow and in ice and eternal winter and all that.
Yeah.
I just mean like, there was a similar feeling I got about what happened between, sorry, we're talking legend now, guys, about what happened between Lily and Jack just when they were in that forest. It felt very Adam and Eve to me, and it felt because I knew who they were, and it felt like there was just kind of this promise of the unknown. We don't quite know what our boundaries are, so we just play with them. Because I mean, we don't have to get into it, but it was just, I identified it with that more than anything else. I remember thinking, that's a sexy movie.
That
really?
That little elf boy creeps me the fuck out. His voice, just everything about him. Didn't like him. I didn't enjoy that movie until I was like 18 or 19 years old when I chose to revisit it.
You didn't like the Gump?
No. You'd think like Meg Mucklebones or The Darkness would bother me, but no, it's that creepy little pixie boy.
Oh my God, he's such a little champion. I love him.
No. I don't like him.
Oh my gosh, you're a mystery, man.
It's funny. It's funny the things that'll scare me, but yeah.
No, yeah. So okay. So one of your, this is where the podcast must lead, though. Like, would he be one of the occupants? Like, if you had like 5 rooms, that would probably be the worst case scenario. Or you don't have to do 5, like 3, whatever. The ones that occurred to you. Would he be one of them, or what? Like, what would make you the most uneasy? What would be some of the worst rooms to open up?
Oh man, it's been a long time since I opened up this. There is a few things that that scare me, and you're gonna laugh at probably a few of them.
Okay.
They don't actually scare me, but like they really honestly, the way the Wayans brothers look in White Chicks fucking bothers me. I hate the White Chicks so much. They're the stuff of nightmares. I can't even think that movie's funny because I'm horrified by what I'm looking at whenever they're on screen. Fuck that.
I get that. The contacts alone.
Yeah. And their jaws and just yeah, the White Chicks really, really bother me.
Okay. That's a t-shirt.
Yeah. I genuinely, truly, that's just teehee the White Chicks. But in truth, I do not like, it's going to sound bad too. I'm sorry to anyone out there who falls in this category. I don't like elderly people. Not blanket statement. I don't like a gathering of strangers of like maybe 5 or more elderly people.
Okay.
I particularly like hate, and to me it all started with Rosemary's Baby. Rosemary's Baby at the end when she makes her way into the room, and it's that room full of Satanists, but they're all old. None of them are really young. I think there's like one couple, but they're all old, and they're all like, "Hail Satan!" and they're so happy, and they're so old. I just remember being like so turned off by that. They were so gleeful and so old, and then I just remember seeing like, I'd go to Target and like there was a Leisure World near this Target, and the bus would show up and just deliver like 20 old people, and I'm like,
oh my God.
Now, if anyone out there like introduces me to their grandmother, I'm not like, "Whoa, get away!" because now you've introduced me. And now,
hey, would you like to meet all 4 of my grandparents and 2 of their best friends? No.
Because once you vouched for them, once they are your grandparents and their friends, they're cool. If they are strangers, so if there's a box with just like 15 old people in it. I'm like, no, get away.
Who you don't know, who have not been cleared. No, I think it's pretty common when you're young, especially because adults are supposed to take care of you and everything like that. So the second you see them, and especially old ones, like, I'm not going to predict everybody's relationship with their grandparents or anything like that. But I mean, the way I was raised, for the most part, I didn't kind of like take issue with anything my grandparents did until I was a little older. And even then, like, I got, like my good set, and I got my set that we're not going to talk about. But I remember a movie called Cloak and Dagger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Henry Thomas, and I can't remember her name right now. She was on Out of This World, and she worked a bunch in the 80s, child actress. But anyway, the two of them just running around being spunky kids with their backpacks, in a video game. And there's one point where I think it's Henry Thomas gets stuck in the back seat with an old gentleman. Oh no, I think the old gentleman's driving, and he's in the back with this old lady who's wearing gloves, and he's supposed to find out that, like, someone who means him nothing but harm is supposed to have 3 fingers. And I just remember, I'll never forget, she took her glove. I guess she had dummy fingers in it or something, but I just remember her taking her glove off, and she only had like this, like an ET hand. And because that's what I thought when I was a kid, I grew up in the 80s. I'm like, oh my God, she's got an ET hand. Because it was, it was also old and it had veins in it and everything like that. It was long and just, and papery skin on it and everything like that, which is going to happen to me, whatever. But if I'm lucky.
And I know you, so you're cool. You're all right.
Right. I'm just trying to say, like, I'm not like you. I'm not, this isn't a phobia of mine. I can be around people, okay. But when I was a kid, I just remember this one particular woman and seeing her hand, because it took, I can bring my prop back. Because it took what I didn't know. It took a bottle of something, and it was chloroform. And she just, with a put it into the hanky. But I knew what this meant, from like watching TV shows from the 70s and everything. People were always going, And so she poured this chloroform in the thing, and this was the shot. She's just like there in the car seat, just like, like that. And I just remember thinking, holy shit, I'm never getting kidnapped, I'll be so scared. They're going to try to put things over my face and I won't know what they are, So I had my own creepy older person fear when I was a kid. It doesn't carry over for me now, though. If I saw that woman now, I'd just be like, I could take her.
Is that something that would be in your? Are we doing 3 boxes or 5 boxes? What are we doing?
Whatever. I mean, whatever occurs to you. I mean, like, do you have anything else in your box?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a list in my brain of like these dumb things that I'm not like. Again, like I'm not genuinely scared of the white chicks, but they're just very off-putting. And there's a few things that I remember being surprisingly off-put by, to the point of being scared. Definitely, for sure, number 1 with a bullet would be like a ventriloquist dummy.
Wow. Any in particular?
Fuck out of here. No, just a ventriloquist dummy. That's all it takes. Doesn't need to be overtly like in Dead Silence, where like,
oh yeah,
there's some overtly insidious,
which isn't anywhere near. No, the creepiest for me are the old timey,
just a regular ass old timey one. Yeah, no, I hate ventriloquist dummies with a passion. I do not like them, especially in the Twilight Zone. Yeah, or the creepy marionette from Tales from the Crypt. Yeah, any ventriloquist dummy.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can handle. Was it Slappy from the Goosebumps movies? Because it sounds like Jack Black, so I'm fine with it.
Oh, right. Yeah, I didn't see it. I don't know. I didn't read the Goosebumps book, so it wouldn't have been a nostalgic turn for me to see the movie. So I just let other people go. No, the old Cloak and Dagger lady wouldn't be one for me now. I mean, mine are more boring because they're not just things. They're like characters from horror movies, like specific characters. Like, nobody else knows. To this day, I don't know why, I always watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one from, was it 72, 73? I always watch it at night. And it always seems to be on the night when I have to take the trash cans out and I forgot. And it's like midnight later sometimes, and I've finished the movie. And I'm like, I always go like, oh shit, I was supposed to take out, I don't know what it is. I was supposed to take out the trash. And all I can think of is opening up my front door and just Leatherface is filling it. You know, it's just like, or even worse, then I open it and it's clear. And I'm like, okay, he's hiding. And I love Gunnar Hansen. I love his performance. I've watched him talk about it. I could have been around Gunnar Hansen and had no problem. But his Leatherface, because it feels the most authentic, it feels the most like just like a person living in a house, trying to live his best life, the only way he's kind of been taught. His influences are largely responsible for his inclinations. Like, I mean, I feel bad for him. I mean, he's almost Frankensteinian in a way. Like he has my heart in a weird way, but he could take my head off without even thinking about it. But I think Frankenstein would actually, it would only be if I start screaming and acting like a mad person. I can't reason with Leatherface. I can't be like, stop, I'll give you anything you want. I can't seduce him. I can't offer him money. I can't reason with him. I can't even scare him. I mean, I could try to scare him, maybe. I don't know what scares Leatherface though. I'd have like that would be like the Achilles heel. That would be the one thing. But the only thing that seems to scare him is if his family finds out he didn't kill you.
I was about to say, like, if Drayton Sawyer gets pissed off and starts like, yelling at him.
Yeah. But
it was Drayton, right? That's the father's name, Drayton?
Not the father, the oldest brother.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But so he's one. And the other one, I don't know, the 70s was a good decade for me. Because I know a lot of people might think like Linda Blair from Exorcist, but no, not me. Pazuzu. Just the face. I could even just be scrolling on Instagram
and it shows up.
I'm like, blah, 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 blah. No. I even posted.
here's what's fucked up is that isn't it's just foundation makeup. It's nothing.
It's just a woman.
Elaborate.
No.
It's just a lady with some teeth.
But it's organic. That's the problem. Is it's not. I can't tell myself it's just prosthetics. It's just a mask. It's literally a face with eyes that are looking with an intention, and because it's like, I don't like it.
Yeah, I understand. I completely 100% with you. In fact, I go to there's a Doctor Who convention every year. In LA called Gallifrey 1, and for like maybe like definitely 1 year, maybe I think 2 years in a row, that actress had a booth, because there's some non-Doctor Who stuff that still gets booked there for autograph tables and yada yada yada. And she had a little table there with autographs, but her banner that hangs off her table is just a big fucking photo of that fucking face. So I'm enjoying my time just in public in the afternoon going, because that's all it takes is just one look at that image. And I go, yeah.
No, even I used to post like just little collages on Instagram, like from movies that I would see and everything, just like kind of images that I like throwing together in a particular context. And I think I was doing like the things that scare me most about the Exorcist movie, and she was one of them. And it's literally like 8, you know how small those boxes are, and it's like an 1/8 of that. And even that, while I'm scrolling, I was like, why did I do that? You know,
I could look at the photo of Regan with all the stuff in her contacts.
Oh yeah,
I'm fine. But Pazuzu, I'm fucking out.
Well, also I think because it feels so unknown. It feels kind of like this thing off in the ether. It doesn't feel like a thing that's like right in front of me that I can deal with. Because even with Regan possessed, like there's conversations you can have. You kind of know what to expect. And if you don't want to be in the room, leave the room. There's not anywhere near. Even when they started to kind of like develop the lore for Pazuzu it never really was. I never thought, that's that character from the first movie. The first movie stands alone for me as far as just like that character and what it does. Like that character can't be in any other movies because it just can't. It can't be contained you can't tell me a story about it because it's just going to feel like fan fiction. It feels like something other, and maybe it's because I, saw the movie at a very, very young age, and it's probably the one thing that stayed scary for me. I like the movie. I love watching it. I think it's expertly crafted, but it doesn't scare me so much as make me uncomfortable and make me uneasy, certainly. But I can, I empathize with the characters, and I especially love the expanded edition. And now we're just talking about other movies.
Yeah. But Cabin in the Woods is really good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, again, it's so good, and I feel like the more I see it, the more more devoutly I'm going to believe that and even recognize it, because even just discussing it with you, you've brought up things that I didn't think about or see before. It's very heady, but I don't think it's without heart. The only thing that keeps me from being like, I must own it, it must be on my shelf and I will watch it, often, is just the heart thing. I'm just a little. I wish there were more of that movie I could go, oh, to. Not like there's nothing there. There's a lot, but it's strong concept, super strong concept.
I mean,
there is heart. I just want more.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't go to that movie for heart. It's a very heady movie, and I tend to be a very heady viewer. So it was nice. It met me on my terms in a weird way. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
And it's nice that 8 years later I can watch it and still really like. Nothing will ever compare to seeing it for the first time, and also, and not just because of the way the story unfolds, but also everything that you bring. Because okay, remember, like, it's funny. I remember seeing the trailer for Creed, and we're thinking, I remember before the trailer came out, I'm like, I have no interest in this. I didn't ask for a fucking Creed movie. And I saw that trailer and went, what the fuck? That looks amazing. I didn't know I wanted this.
Yeah.
And then I feel like about a month later, on like back when it was called Fat Man Beyond, Mark Bernardin's like, it's the thing that you didn't know you wanted. I'm like, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's how I felt with Cabin in the Woods to a certain degree, in that I've been watching horror movies for almost my whole life. Obviously the first few years of my life I wasn't, but I've been experiencing the highs and the lows. I've been experiencing stuff and learning of these cliches and these tropes, and loving some of them and hating some of them. And this movie was like a reward. Like it was a prize for a contest I didn't know I'd entered. But like, look at what we're giving to you for everything that you've watched. Like, look at all these jokes, look at all these things that we're constructing for you to enjoy, and I didn't know I entered that contest. And when that movie came out, it felt like cinematically, it felt like the second coming for me. Like, I did not know this was going to happen. I did not expect, when I went to this movie, how clever it was going to be and how witty it was going to be, and also like how smart it was going to be, because it is smartly done. It's one thing to know the thing that you're deconstructing. It's another thing, though, to treat your audience smart enough to know that they're smart enough to get it without us fucking explaining it to you. I think we talked about this a little bit when Scream came out. Scream's good at deconstructing horror, but Scream has Randy telling you and all the normies, like, here's all the rules that happen in a horror movie. And everyone goes, ah. And she goes, they should be running out upstairs and going to the front door. This movie doesn't do any of that shit. No offense to Scream, but it's also, time has passed and we can do other things. And the fact that this movie never once explains, oh, in horror movies they break up and they should stick together. Like, it just, I really respect that it doesn't stop the narrative but it still be postmodern and deconstructive without doing that. But yeah, I don't have that, oh my God, like, what the fuck did I just watch anymore? but I still enjoy the shit out of it. But I wish I can go back in time to like when. I mean, I wanted to scream, "What the fuck!" Like this thing breaks apart horror to such a degree, or at least this kind of horror, because obviously there's different genres, but in blanket terms, I remember thinking like, how the fuck do you keep making horror movies after this? Like this movie is a statement, and like there's a fucking period at the end of this.
Yeah.
How do you go on after what this movie just fucking did and said? Or at least to the degree, how do you keep making slashery conventional type? And I'm not saying this movie is responsible for it at all. I do think it's just coincidence, but it is a hell of a coincidence that so many of the horror movies that have connected, because everyone can make something small, but you never know what's going to be a hit, you know? But it's no small coincidence that the things that connected with people in the years since this are not these kinds of movies anymore.
Yeah.
It's Hereditary. It Follows. It's The Witch. These are the things that are landing.
Yeah.
Or even like just some of the Blumhouse smaller, like the Purge series. And I mean, aside from maybe like The Conjuring and Insidious, there hasn't been as many conventionally successful, you know, that whole Platinum Dunes model of just like, well, we're gonna do remake Friday the 13th again. We're gonna like, I between 2012 and now, we haven't had as much. Even the Paranormal Activity sort of faded away, and I think the A24, Annapurna, and Blumhouse models have taken over, coincidentally at a time when Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard went, these beats and these tropes have had a good run. They had a good run, and in a weird way, we are kind of putting them to rest. But also celebrating them, because like again, to me, I think this movie rewards two very distinct points of view. It rewards how much you love these beats, and you go, ha ha ha, look what you're doing with this, and also rewards those who like fucking facepalm every time characters make these fucking stupid decisions, and now it rewards you, or at least gives you a new perspective to maybe watch the movie through a new prism and think, well, maybe it's because of, you know, beep bop boop.
Well, oh my God! See, now that you're talking like that, it makes me think even more about one of the things that I love, that I really, really do love about this movie, is the final moment. And I don't mean the hand; I mean that's great, but I just mean the dialogue between Dana and Marty. When just the line that he says, "It's time to give someone else a chance." And I believe that coming out of the character's mouth within the framework that they've set up, like I'm just kind of like, and she's sitting there going, just kind of agreeing with him. So I'm on board. I'm like, yeah, I'm totally on board. But ultimately, if it is this commentary that these two men are saying about this particular genre, it makes sense that they don't get to make the decision, but like, well, we've done our part. It's time to give someone else a chance, and whatever that means. Does that mean you take up, you know, the same kind of tropes and visit that you don't see them our way, you know, or do you just completely abandon them and go off in another direction and employ something new, or recycle some other trope, you know, like whatever you're going to do. But it's time to give somebody else a chance. And I mean, within the characters framework, I also love the fact that they're flanked by their totems. Like you got the virgin and you've got the fool on either side of them, and the fool's all red with blood, and the virgin's still very, you know, empty, no blood and everything like that. I'm so like, this is so epic.
Meticulously thought out. Everything's perfectly tight. I mean, there's a lot of like the basics of what a good screenwriting should be, as far as first of all, delivering an amazing third act, a satisfying fucking roller coaster ride that still pays off at a thematic climax, but also just little beats and little, like, I mean, it's little payoffs. You have the fucking board and everyone's betting, and I think it's Thor. I think it's Chris Hemsworth that's holding the conch shell. And here's Bradley Whitford going, "I'm so close, man. He was holding it."
Yeah.
I really want to see a merman. It's funny. He. It's just a funny beat.
Yeah.
But payoff.
Yeah.
Screenwriting 101. He gets to see the merman. Oh. And it's the second, and it kills. I remember seeing that in theater, and you just, through the fog, you hear the little wet flaps, and people already start laughing. Like, we already know, like, that's what's great about it, is that it's a beat that you already, like, I love when everyone's in on the writing before we even get to the thing, and we can all laugh because we know what's coming. It's great.
But not in a boring way, in a way you're just going like, oh no, you know, because I mean, there's the other thing where you're just going like, okay, I saw you coming for a mile, just kill me. But that's not that moment at all. Also, I love the fact that I remember the first time he said merman, I was just kind of like, like, first time you see that movie and you hear that he wants it to be a merman, you're like, well, what kind of, I think a merman, I think like half Ken doll, half fishtail, you know, like,
I
and
was
that's when we see him in that he's actually like a fish man. He's not like a creature from the Black Lagoon fish man, but he is like a man fish.
With a blobfish face, But I always imagine just creature from the Black Lagoon anyway.
Right.
Or at least that name being for that thing.
Okay.
I love seeing the monitors with all the other countries, by the way.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
I love the kids are in their Ringu experience, but I forget what country it is, but it's like a station in the snow, and I'm like, the thing happened. That's so cool, you know.
Oh yeah.
And you see like a King Kong, like laying on the ground. There were. I feel bad about. I feel like when I watch King Kong, the old movie, every single time, I just feel so bad for that poor monkey at the end. So even seeing just that on the monitor, I'm like, oh. I'm not even watching King Kong, but I know the context of what I'm looking at. Oh.
'Twas beauty killed the beast. I mean, no, it wasn't. It was us, but as humanity. But no, I'm
a big
really,
fan.
really glad that
Obviously,
I got to revisit it.
I'm a big fan. Yeah.
And I am too. I'm really, really glad that I got to revisit it. It's going to be interesting to put it down for a while and then revisit it again. I don't know when, but when I do.
I already want to watch it again.
Huh?
I already want to watch it again. Like, I wanted to watch it a second time before we recorded this. I didn't have enough time to, but like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, watch it again.
Well, I will.
Yeah. But I mean, no, and I mean, because I did see it 2 times, and apparently that's what I do. I watch it twice, and then I wait 10 years. But maybe if I saw it, I think I did see my sister's DVD. I feel like I did. But no, I'm really, really glad that I did. It's going to be interesting if I don't know if I'll wait another 10 years, but another couple years maybe, and then revisit it again and enjoy it and enjoy the performances and maybe even recognize. I mean, now again, there's so much more. So who knows? I mean, because I'm so interpersonal. I'm so about just like, that moment between this person and that's why I like also go seeing movies with my sister, because she's got a director's eye. She sees the proscenium. She sees like the whole palette and things that are like, and there I'm going. I always think about it. She sees a timeline, and literally I'm like Super Mario running on the timeline.
Right.
Just going. I mean, I'm running on the timeline like a Super Mario would, or like it's kind of like, oh, what? Oh, I'm inside it. I mean, if it's good, if it's well done.
It's funny, because I think of this movie and what you're describing as like all the other things. I'm like, well, that's what I see when I see it. I don't think about. To me, it's not that I can't experience interpersonal things with characters. It just depends on the movie. And to me, there's so much going on in this movie that the one thing I don't get out of it is, the nuances of people's personality. And then generally speaking, you watch things and you feel the things about the people. And I generally
believe in movie magic.
You feel feelings. So go watch this a little more heady and see what you think. But
go for it. You telling me or are you telling them?
You.
All right, fine. I'll go see it again. Jesus.
No, just whenever you do. Just whenever you do.
This podcast's over.
Fuck you. You know what? It is over. I like this movie a lot, and you liked it too. And I hope if you're watching, you're a big a fan as we are, or at least as me, because I shit my pants. Love it. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with something else at some point. Who knows what?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Be safe. Wash your hands.
Yeah, and avoid large groups of old people.
Goodbye.